Luis Campusano was sent down. That was some interesting news that came before today's game. I'll give you the full roster move here. So Tom Cosgrove came up. Brandon Lockridge came up to give the Padres an additional outfielder for a little bit because Martin Perez placed on the paternity list, so congratulations to him. Padres can get an additional arm there. They send Campy down, and this, I mean, it makes sense because, and scratch the whole a little bit thing that I just said. I guess a little bit because Lockridge won't be on the postseason roster, right? But because of expanded rosters, you send Campy down. This is the Padres saying, we're riding with these two catchers. These are our two catchers, Higgy and Elias Diaz. We're going to give Diaz playing time. We're going to see if he should be our second catcher on a postseason roster, with Higgy being the starter. We can't have Campy up here and just sitting here. Let's give him reps in AAA for however long their season is. And you can have Brandon Lockridge come up and be an option to come in if there's an injury. If something happens, he can pinch run, you know? So I think they got him in the Enyel De Los Santos deal to the Yankees. And by the way, there's a connection there today because Scott Barlow was just released, I believe, by the Guardians. And the Padres saved money by acquiring De Los Santos before this season. Obviously, it didn't work out great, but they send him to the Yankees. Then they get Lockridge, who's now a major league piece on this roster. And they don't have the money, the salary for Scott Barlow, who ended up not doing great. And the Padres have a back end of the bullpen that's better than last year's that had Scott Barlow on it. So, you know, another point for AJ Preller on his season. But, you know, with Campy, like, for me, Elias Diaz is the obvious pick. If you're going to have two catchers on the roster, Higgy's the starter. He should be catching every postseason game, in my opinion, at this point in time. And then Elias Diaz, he has an arm. He can throw some guys out. He's better defensively. Go look at the Baseball Savant numbers. He's better defensively than Campy is. And he can run into one. Campy, sure, we thought he was the starting catcher, right, going into the year. But then I believe he got hurt a little bit, and then Higgy takes over, and he's just there from there out. He earned it because he ended up being he's having a career year, while Luis Campusano didn't take a step forward offensively. And I was hoping he would. Obviously, I root for all these guys because this is my team. But we were expecting more, I think, collectively as Padres. Maybe some weren't. But I was. I was not expecting him to have an 80 OPS plus, a 642 OPS, 227 average, less than 10 home runs and 277 at-bats, a negative WAR. You know, when you're a replaceable player like that, you're going to go with Elias Diaz, and you just try it, especially when that guy's better defensively than Campy is at this moment. So I like it. You know, we'll see if Campy can bounce back. We'll see if he's going to be on the big league roster next year. But for now, a team that's trying to make the postseason, right, that hasn't been clinched. You want the best catching situation. And, you know, Lockridge comes up. He can give you a little bit of versatility. You have offense. And it's not like Campy was Gary Sanchez of last year. You know, that would be different, right? Not the case. So good luck to Campy. Hopefully he can get, you know, he will, I assume. We'll get that consistent playing time. And then Elias Diaz, I'm curious to see how he's going to do with more playing time than what he was getting. You know, I just didn't understand. There was the other day, there was that game where Schilt played Campy, started him in the lineup. And I'm like, what are we doing here? You have Elias Diaz on the roster, and you're playing a guy that you pretty much know who he is, at least for this year, because you've seen the hundreds of at-bats. You've seen him behind the plate. How about you play Elias Diaz? And it seems like there's going to be more of that coming up here.